Hello, YouTube! This is Shelter the Destroyer, and today we're going to watch Modern Marvels on how rice became the king of grains. We're going to learn about rice. I happen to like rice. It's really up there on my list of grains, gonna be honest. But we are going to learn about rice. So grab your snackies, grab your bevies, grab a handful of rice. Let me know what you're eating or drinking down below, and let's learn about it.
You can fry it up, eat it for breakfast, or insulate your house with it. From the rice paddies of Indonesia to the fertile fields of California, it's the workhorse of the grains.
Do you guys have a favorite rice brand? I don't remember what brand mine is, but like I go to the store and I get like a big bag of it, and it's got like a pretty little like flower on the bag. I think it starts with a B, but it's long grain. It's from California.
Thousands of varieties and infinite dishes.
Rice is a wonderful invention.
And guess who's the largest consumer?
Oh no, I got fancy rice cooker, okay? But I'm also lazy, and I will get that jasmine rice that you just pop in the microwave because it's like portion control. And yeah, Botan's my favorite. But I will go and get like the minute rice that you just pop in the microwave, the jasmine kind, just because I'm lazy, and that's probably not great. But I do have a fancy rice cooker. So occasionally I do make rice in my fancy rice cooker, and it's delicious. Anyway.
More of rice in the U.S. Eat it, write on it, wear it, live in it, or turn it into something that can save millions from starvation. It's the...
Oh, Calrose rice? I don't know. Sure. If I had to choose rice or potatoes and I have to give up the other entirely, I don't want to answer that question.
The world's most versatile grain. Rice on Modern Marvels.
I eat more types of potatoes than I do rice. I will say that.
Rice is the world's food. People get more calories from rice than from anything else. There are over 80,000 varieties.
This is a brown rice. It's a pretty bulbous little grain. This is a very popular rice, medium grain, white. The reason it's white is it doesn't have the hull. Black Thai rice, it's got an outer skin and then the inside is tender. And it kind of cracks, you snap in your teeth.
Ooh, I'm gonna try black rice.
Restaurant in New York City showcases the diversity of this amazing grain.
Wait, was that the one I liked? Hold on.
New York City showcases the diversity of this amazing grain. Its international menu pays homage to rice's worldwide reach.
Jamaican spiced jerk wings. This is Korea through a bulgogi, a maki with bulgogi sauce.
A maki.
It really opened my eyes up to the variety of rices that exist in the world.
I love how, like, I don't know when this was made, but anytime that they are filming something, it looks like it's old. And I don't know if it's actually was like filmed in the early 2000s, or if it's just the cameras they're using or the lighting. Like, I don't know, right? But like it always looks like it's dated.
Pad Thai is a rice noodle-based staple dish for Thailand.
Speaking of grains, I'm about to open a little Lunchables nacho and eat that. So you guys are going to hear my little chips. I'm sorry.
There's a sauce that they put in it, and they mix it all together with the meatballs, and it makes it really tasty. The flavor is really good. It's with garlic.
I kind of want to try the black rice.
It's the grain of
it's crunchy.
100,000 dishes. It was first cultivated 10,000 years ago in China, and today it's the most important grain in the world. Half of humanity eats it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Most of the world's rice is in Asia, 90% of it. Here in the U.S., our consumption is rather modest, about 25 pounds per person per year. But there are a lot of places in Asia where people are consuming 200 pounds per year.
Jeez.
It's cultivated on every continent except Antarctica.
Well,
on farms from small to mammoth. From subsistence farmers feeding their families.
Oh, you know, it's weird. So, like, in Asia, they have, like, flooded rice fields, right? Like, they put water in it. I don't think we do that here. What's the difference? Is it just different types of rice? What's up?
To industrial farmers shipping product around the world. In Asia, the vast majority of their 200 million rice farms still use the centuries-old techniques.
50% is grown in Arkansas.
Competitive is by highly mechanizing the crop. It takes about 10 man-hours per acre to grow a rice crop here in the U.S. Some of those places in Asia is taking 200 and 300 man-hours per acre. Labor's got to be cheap for that to work.
Oh.
The majority of the world's rice is planted by hand. But in the United States, the seed is usually spread by airplane.
Huh.
The most popular rice brand in America is Uncle Ben's.
Uncle
At
Ben's
their
is okay in
production
a snap.
facility in Greenville, Mississippi, they churn out 1 million pounds of packaged rice every.
Sorry, I bet Modern Marvels will tell us the difference. What just happened? Getting like messages or something? It's pronounced Arkansas.
24 hours.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's enough to feed a city the size of New York, everyone for a day.
All to be served up in less than 10 minutes of convenient cooking time. How does rice get from this to this? The rice comes into Uncle Ben's fresh off the field, husks and all.
Okay.
It's stored in rough rice silos until they need it for production. From the silos, it goes straight into the steamer to be parboiled.
Parboiled.
Back here behind me is running about 30 tons an hour, and it's operating at a temperature of about 230 to 240 degrees Fahrenheit.
Parboiling simply means partially boiled.
Okay, thank
But
you.
the effect on the rice grain is much more complicated than it sounds. The rice
Does it
grains
help
enter
get the
steamer with their inedible
husk off?
husks still on. The steaming forces B vitamins and minerals from the outer layers into the starchy center. Later, the husk will be removed and the bran layer milled off. The parboiling results in a milled white rice grain with close to the same nutritional value as a whole grain brown rice. After the parboiling, the rice will go through a multi-layered drying.
What's your favorite color of rice? I like white rice. I do want to try that black rice though. They said it was crunchy on the outside. I want to try that.
Process. 6 hours later, it's ready for the mill, where first the
Have you guys had purple rice? Purple rice is fine.
husk and then the bran layer are removed.
This is the final step of milling. And what you're going to see here is the bran actually being removed from the rice. That's the bran falling off. So you're really fine-tuning your milling at this point.
After milling, they have to make sure that all the rice grains are uniform for the best quality product. So every one of them has to pass through a scan master.
Scanner? We're gonna scan
This
every little
machine's
grain of
job
rice.
is to find
Jesus.
the discolored grains. Each grain flies individually by a camera.
Do they use air to like poof it off? Like what do
A
they
beam
do?
of light bounced off the grain delivers color data to a computer. Any deviation from the standard triggers swift action. A puff of air
Yep.
knocks the flawed grain from the flow.
All right.
It all happens
Technology is amazing.
in a split second. 32,000 pounds of rice an hour.
What do they do with the rejected rice?
11,734 million individual grains evaluated every minute. But the quality control needs quality control. Samples of rice from the Scan Master go to Kenny Winters to be evaluated.
When the rice goes through my eyes, I'm saying that it's ready for consumption. So the last pair of eyes, I'm the last one to see this rice before it goes into your plate.
It gets turned into cattle feed, maybe, or rice flour. It gets turned into mashed potato flakes.
If Kenny sees too many grains that don't measure up, he'll adjust the Scan Master's sensitivity to knock out more imperfect grains. The end result should look like this, not like this. Sifters remove any last bits of debris or broken grains. Then it's moved to the finished rice bin to wait for the next step.
Bagging.
In this room, we have 6 packaging lines. This particular line right here is making a born-in-the-bag type product. Today, it's a brown rice.
The difference between brown rice and white rice is simply whether or not the bran layer is milled off.
Brown rice is better for you,
Usually
but it
regular
doesn't
white
taste as
rice
good.
is much less nutritious than brown rice. But with the parboiling process, the white rice is made nearly as nutritious as the brown.
Ooh. All right, Uncle Ben.
Before the finished product goes out on the shipping pallets, the production run has to satisfy the palates of the sensory panel.
Make sure it's not too salty. Moisture level's right. Make sure the taste is proper. Very good.
That's how they make it perfect every time. But it's also perfect for something else, other than eating.
Uncle Ben's is the best. I've tried many different kinds throughout the years, the last 16 years, but nothing is as good as Uncle Ben's. It doesn't crack and lasts forever.
Vivian Robinson writes on Uncle Ben's rice. For a donation, she will write your name on a single grain.
We're at Venice Beach, the best place on earth. Paradise, in my opinion. The whole world comes down here, so you can't beat Venice. You get your name on a grain of rice, goes on a necklace, keychain, cell phone charm, bracelet. Takes a lot of patience and steady hands. And I never drink coffee. Try not to shake at all. Even though Venice
so
Beach has a
tiny.
lot of distractions, I'm kind of used to it.
Even though it has a lot of distractions. Camera zooms around like 2 girls' asses. Like, yeah, distractions. You feel me? Distractions.
Be about usually 12 letters. One guy asked me, can you write Rumpelstiltskin on a grain of rice? So I said, sure. Sure enough, 14 letters, I got it on there. Sometimes I amaze myself what I can do.
She draws pictures on request, or will gladly write in Korean, or any language you want.
16 years ago when I was on vacation in Portugal, I met a guy from India who told me, I couldn't believe he was doing it. And he told me, oh, you should do this in America, they'll love it. I go, well, seems like an odd thing to do, but let me give it a try. So 16 years later, I'm still doing it.
She puts the grains in little glass tubes, filled with oil to preserve the grain and magnify it.
Now I'm gonna seal it and put it on a necklace for you. That's how I write on rice.
Rice is a grass, like corn and wheat, but it's much more important. It feeds more people. It was first cultivated 10...
So I feel like, I don't know. I feel like that's something you see at like theme parks too, is like writing on rice. Right? Am I crazy? I feel like that is a thing. A weird little tidbit. Yeah, like sometimes they just try to find like different things and they put it in there.
1,000 years ago on the banks of the Yangtze River. And since then, humans have bred it into 80,000 varieties and spread it all over the world.
80,000, damn. Go rice.
When it's soaked in vinegar, the Japanese call it sushi. Sushi has roots 1,700 years old, but at first, it didn't look anything like this.
I went to a sushi place once. I don't eat sushi. Ray and a bunch of my friends do. We were visiting a friend, staying at their place, or their parents' place, really. And I forgot what we were there for. I think we were maybe there for a convention that was happening in town or something. And we went to this restaurant. It was a Japanese restaurant. And Ray ordered sushi. I ordered like probably teriyaki chicken or something. Ray ordered sushi and he got it. Yeah, in Montgomery. He got it and he was like, something is wrong with this sushi. Like after he ate it. And I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, it is regular rice. Like it's not sushi rice. It is regular rice. Because sushi doesn't use just like normal rice. Like they put vinegar and I think sometimes sugar or something in it. Like they put at least vinegar in it. And he was like, they're just using regular like just regular rice. I've never had this before. And it was really funny.
The rice was just a preservative. Rice was packed around raw fish, and the fermenting grain would preserve the fish for months. Then the rice was thrown away.
Gasp.
Today, sushi is popular in America too. Virtually all the sushi rice in the U.S. is grown in California. This 3,000-acre farm in the Sacramento Valley grows premium quality sushi rice. The part we eat is the white starchy center of the seed. If the nutrient-rich bran layer is still on, it's called brown rice.
Okay, we've done that already. We've gone over that.
Tough outer husk.
Oh, okay.
This rice isn't ready to harvest yet, but it will be soon. It's time to prep the fields. The rice is in several inches of standing water, which would make it hard for the harvesters. So first they have to drain the fields. For that,
are they reverse cranberry bogging this?
They need a unique piece of equipment. The Daisig.
We need to get some
that thing looks so funny.
Drainage of those fields. Otherwise, it would take far too long to try to get the field to drain.
So I was wrong. They do put it in water.
Daisig has a very special task for its heavy, sharp wheels. They'll cut through the dirt levees that hold the water on the field. When the Daisig gets to one of the levees that encircle a field, it slices right through it. The wheels cut deep furrows that lead the water off. 4 to 6 inches of water has been on this field since it was planted.
Huh.
It may seem like a lot, but 40% of it goes back into the system through surface or groundwater.
I don't know what that means, but all right.
The furrows made by the Daisig lead the water to the network of drains.
So it'll drain out, and so there's nothing. It'll just become mud and then eventually dry up so that it's dry enough for the harvester to get in.
With the water off the field, the rice is more vulnerable. Now, it's a waiting game.
A bit of bad weather can really make or break you. So you're anxious. We're all anxious to get this rice cut and in the barn, so to speak, or in our rice drying and storage facility before bad weather hits it.
In 30 days, the rice will be dried out. Harvesting will have to happen soon. The rice is 5 months old now and at the peak of ripeness.
So they're not having to wait 30 days to harvest it, right?
Ready to go.
Oh, yeah. What?
5 at once take on this 150-acre field.
I can cut, in a good day, I can cut 25, 30 acres a day.
"400 reel teeth comb the stalks across the cutters. This variety has to be cut close to the ground, which is more challenging for the harvesters.
It's hard to harvest. It can be lying down. It'll fall down flat where medium grain will stay standing. And it is a lower yielding product. And so we do have to achieve a higher price to make it all work at the end of the day.
The plants fall onto a conveyor that carries them inside the body of the harvester. Once inside, the crop is carried to the chafer, which shakes the rice grains loose of the stalks. The grains fall through multiple sieves into a collecting tank. An auger spirals the grain up into the holding tank.
Okay.
Meanwhile, high-volume air blows the chaff away from the grain toward the back of the machine, where it is ejected.
Just like a lawnmower.
A fan spreads it evenly. After harvesting, the field will be flooded again, and this straw will rot over the winter, making a rich fertilizer for next year's crop.
That's nice.
This is where we just get to witness the results of all the hard work. The machine has a tremendous amount of instrumentation and a very highly technical piece of equipment. You know, auto steering is a feature that can be added.
John
to a
Deere.
combine where this thing will drive it.
Finding out that John Deere, like, if you're a farmer, I don't know if this is still true, but there was like this whole thing. It was like, if you're a farmer and you buy a John Deere, it's like you don't really own it. It's like you're leasing it, even if you've paid it off, because like you have to go through John Deere for everything. And like, there were farmers out there jailbreaking their John Deere tractors and equipment, so they could get more affordable like maintenance and stuff done on it. You know, like Ferrari. Like John Deere was like the Ferrari of farm equipment. I was like, that's
Itself, and it'll make perfectly straight passes. If I had that feature in here, I don't really know what I would do. I mean, I kind of get a little bit of enjoyment out of having to drive the machine. That feature is something I've never really desired.
it costs the same as a house. Not surprising, honestly, but dang.
The holding tank fills up in about 30 minutes. Bank-out wagons pull up alongside to collect the grain and take it back to the storage facility.
People all over the world eat rice, and the more and more efficient we can be, the more important it is, because as you know, it's hard to grow more farmland throughout the world. Really, we're best if we can be more efficient on each and every acre that we have, so we can produce more.
Yeah, something fun that's apparently happening is apparently a lot of our farms in America are dying. Like, we're not doing a good job about re-enriching the soil, and we're overproducing on it. So there's a very good possibility that sooner rather than later, like, our farmland is going to be dead. And so that is the thing that a lot of people are worried about. And now I'm worried about it. So, like, you know.
Rice to help feed the world.
It feeds millions, but it's also a great snack. It's rice.
It's rice.
Rice Krispie treats, rice cakes, and the cereal that talks to you.
Snap, crackle, Rice Krispies.
Food scientists have actually studied why Rice Krispies make their characteristic sound. The answer is in the structure of each Krispie. Sugar and rice powder are heated to such a high temperature that the sugar and starch bond into a glass-like substance. As they expand, air bubbles form. The dried Krispies are loaded with big air pockets with super thin walls. When milk is poured on, it fills the cavities and squeezes the air. The walls shatter like glass. Snap, crackle, pop. Pop Rocks are the only other food that behaves like this. Here's another American favorite, Quaker. They make more than oats.
I eat their instant brown sugar maple oats, like oatmeal, dry. I don't put water in it. I just eat it dry.
The company has used a Quaker man as its logo since 1877, but not due to any Quaker connection. The founder just read about them in the encyclopedia.
The founder was like,
their
neat.
Rice cake, they start with whole grain brown rice. They go through 50 of these super sacks a day, a total of 100,000 pounds.
Did I say ew or cute? What? When?
Of rice.
I don't know what I say. As soon as it leaves my mouth, it's
the first
gone.
hopper starts the process.
Listen, I've talked about this a lot because like Ray's like, sometimes you talk a lot and kind of don't get anywhere. And I'm like, yeah, because I'll start a rant and I'll say stuff that doesn't really matter, but I get sidetracked and then I just start rambling and then I've forgotten where I was going. Like, oh no, cute. I said cute.
Process of getting the rice puff ready.
Thanks,
We're
Ben.
adding steam and water to make sure we get the right moisture of the grain. And then from here, we're going to take the product once it's right, and we're going to set it into our popping area where we're going to actually pop the product.
That part of the process is a trade secret. They wouldn't let us film the equipment. But we know it works something like this. The process is a little different from how popcorn is popped. Popping corn has a tougher bran layer that keeps the grain under pressure until the pressure gets too great. But popping rice is more difficult. A precise quantity of raw, wet rice goes into cake-shaped molds. The mold keeps the grain under pressure while it's heated. The water inside the grain starts to turn into steam and expand. After about 10 seconds, the mold releases the pressure suddenly, and the grains puff out. The shape of the dish packs the puffs tightly together.
Okay.
The whole process only takes about 15 seconds. They come out of the popper piping hot. Right now, they're nothing but rice. Flavorings would impede the pop, so they have to be sprayed on later.
Huh.
We make about 2,000 rice cakes a minute, about 3 million rice cakes a day.
Dang. I couldn't get into rice cakes. I tried. That was one of my diet foods I was trying. Oh no, that one's stuck. Oh no.
The rice cakes are spread out. They have to be in a single layer for the flavorings to be sprayed on the surface.
Yeah, I didn't get unstuck while we were watching. To this day.
Then they are baked to reduce the moisture level and add texture. Next, it's on to quality control. The cakes whiz by a laser and a camera, which registers their position. If the shape is wrong, then less than a second later, when it reaches this gap, a nozzle is moved into position for interception.
With air.
A blast of compressed air knocks it out of the lineup. Rice cakes may be a recent snack food, but they have long historical roots. Every culture that traditionally eats rice has something called a rice cake. The Indian idli, the Filipino puto, the Japanese mochi, the Indonesian ket.
The Japanese what now?
The Filipino puto, the Japanese mochi.
Mochi, huh? Mochi, huh?
The Indonesian ketapot, the Chinese nian gao are just a few examples. For the 3 billion people that eat rice 3 times a day, a rice cake is just the natural thing to do. Quaker rice cakes are made with whole grain brown rice, which means the bran layer isn't milled off. But in the U.S., most of the market for rice is white rice. Almost any variety can be milled down to make white rice. In California's Rice Valley, a shipment of grain fresh off the field is arriving at the farmer's rice cooperative, where the grain will be milled and cleaned.
Farmer's Rice Cooperative. Neat.
Most of it comes in as paddy rice, the whole seed with the inedible husk still on.
The rice is deposited into the pit from the truck. It then goes to our storage facility. Prior to going into the silos, it goes through a rough cleaning process. It is cleaned of straw and other large pieces of material. The final part of our cleaning process is our destoning process. That's where the rice runs across a destoner in the fluidized bed.
What does destoner
On the
mean?
fluidized bed, air blows the grains away from the heavier pebbles, which get carried out the back.
Oh, literally, like, let's take out
California
these,
farms
like,
produce more than 4 billion
rocks.
pounds of
Okay.
rice a year, and about a quarter of it comes through here.
Basically, it's a lot of rice. If we combine both of our 2 mills, we have the largest processing facility in the U.S.
Spiral conveyors move the rice through tubes to the next step, the huller. The inedible husk is removed by passing it through spinning cylinders.
The rice.
I don't know what it is about this episode, but they have like nice music just in the playing in this episode. I don't know why.
Falls between the rubber rolls, and the husk is sheared off.
The husks get used for everything from insulation to a fuel source to pillow stuffing. Most of their customers want white rice.
Good night,
so
Dalton.
Next, it goes to milling. They process 1,200 tons of paddy rice a day, 48 truckloads.
We can just about fill one of these silos in a day.
Dang.
Next door, packaging, from 2-pound bags to railroad
You
cars.
can hear the insecurity. Oh, here we go, cow rows. That is not my
Today, they're
favorite.
packing
This one is not my
20-pound bags
favorite.
of white rice. White rice will store much longer than brown rice.
It's not the large, it
nutrients
is
will
it,
remove
Steve.
The bran layer. If the customer wants it enriched with B vitamins and iron, the mill can do that too. It's sprayed on the grain surface.
It's sprayed? All right.
That's why they say not to wash white rice. The water will rinse off the nutrients.
Y'all don't wash your rice? Y'all should be washing your rice. Like, I don't know. Uncle Ben's figured it out how you can have it, you know, still nutrition. Pretty sure you're supposed to wash your rice. I have never heard of don't wash your white rice. I've never heard that.
It goes through a check weigher to make sure the right amount of rice is in the bag. It goes through a metal detector to make sure there are no metal contaminants in the bag. Then it moves to our palletizer.
A palletizer.
The palletizer can pack a pallet in 5 minutes flat and never needs a coffee break.
Good for it.
About half the rice is sold on the international market. Wrap it up, ship it out. Their domestic customers are mostly food manufacturers who will turn plain rice into everything from side dishes to meals to snacks for the American consumer.
Don't wash white rice.
Rice is unique among them.
Yeah, like if you buy a big ass fucking bag of rice, are you not gonna wash it? Like if you buy the like individual, like, hey, just pop this in the microwave or, you know, boil a bag of rice or whatever. Like okay, I can understand you not washing that. But if you buy a big ass like 20-pound bag, what? You're supposed to rinse but not wash. If the water's coming out clear, you've washed nutrients away. Well, fuck, I've been washing all my nutrients away and probably will continue to do so.
Major grains. Most of it gets eaten as a cooked grain, but we also ground it into flour. It even gets
Listen, if I want a bunch of nutrients, I just eat brown rice. Brown rice is also an option, I'm just saying.
fermented into alcohol, like sake.
The word sake doesn't exist. Everything's S-A-K-I. It's not. It's actually sake. And I tell people just kind
of... It even gets fermented into alcohol, like sake.
Way to call the guy out.
The word sake doesn't exist. Everything's S-A-K-I. It's not. It's actually sake. And I tell people just kind of slur your words, sake. So the more you drink, the better you are at pronouncing sake.
The word actually means any alcoholic drink. What we call sake, the Japanese call nihonshu. But whatever you call it, It's an ancient beverage on a modern course. Bo Timken opened the first U.S. store totally devoted to sake. He loves sake, but in the beginning, he had much to learn.
You can hear he's having difficulty saying it. Like he wants to say sake instead of sake. And so like he's having a hard time. The narrator's having a hard time. You can hear it.
In my progression of understanding and trying to understand, I had to knock down all these pegs of everything that I thought sake was. I thought it was a distilled beverage. It's not. I thought you had to drink it hot. You don't. I thought you had to drink it out of little shot cups. You don't. I thought you had to slug it like a, booze. You don't. I thought you could only eat sushi with it. There are all these misconceptions. I thought, geez, I can't be the only guy that just doesn't get it.
His store sells more than 150 brands of sake, even one with real gold in it.
100% you can buy that at H Mart. I mean, this was like a long time ago, so like that's fine. But like I was like, I have looked at that multiple times at H Mart.
From $150 a bottle down to $6.
I'm not big on sake.
It's a 1,000-year-old beverage steeped in tradition.
But then again, I also don't like try a bunch. I'm also not big on most alcohol anyway. So.
Sake brewers are trying to attract the younger generation as well.
I like also, I like how to price them, he has a washer on a string just on the bottle where he has Sharpied the price.
So these are not your grandfather's sakes.
Sparkling sakes, fruit-flavored sakes, unfiltered sakes, low-alcohol sakes. Sake has come a long way. It's been brewed in Japan for more than 1,800 years. At its core, it's simple.
You can take steamed rice, put it in your mouth, chew it up, spit in a bucket. The enzymes in your mouth would break that long-chain starch molecule into a glucose. And then you do the lovely thing of taking that spit it in the bucket, and the open-air yeast would propagate, and you would basically have a fermented beverage.
Cool, I hate that
Sake's
information.
earliest brewers were probably rice farmers, but production was soon taken over by the Shinto monks, who usually controlled the village water supply.
Way to sell this drink, man. It's spit.
It's been closely tied to religion and ritual ever since.
Some very, very happy people making sake. We can understand why. Welcome to Sake One. This is the only American-operated sake brewery, or we call it Kura, here in the U.S. There are a couple other breweries, but we're the only Americans who have approached it at this level of brewing sake.
Do y'all spit in it?
Our focus here is making premium sake here in Oregon. We established the brewery here in Forest Grove for one key reason, and that is the water that flows off the mountains here. It's a lot easier to get our water here than truck it around.
Ooh.
Water is critical for the low iron and manganese that we're seeking that aid in the brewing process.
Fancy.
If you'd rather skip the spitting in a bucket part, here's a quick tutorial on sake making.
Oh, good. Yes, I would like to skip that
Get
part.
some rice.
Uh-huh.
Mill the grain down to the starch-rich center. Soak it. Grow mold on it to break the starch molecules down into simple sugars.
Okay.
Feed that to some yeast, which will promptly excrete alcohol. And there you have it, sake. But the art is in the details.
Sake is the industry of 10,000 methods. That's the coined term. Everybody has their style of making sake. These guys fine-tune it year in and year out.
Our mill is full, 4,000 pounds. It'll take about 17 to 18 hours to fully mill down to 58%.
The amount of bran that is milled off the rice grain is one of the main factors in the quality of the resulting sake.
So this is the first start of the mill right here at 90% milled. And then after our 18 hours, we have these little golden nuggets. How small and how perfect they are.
They look like sea glass.
Now for the money laundering.
The money
rice
laundering?
goes to a bath to remove the fine coating of rice flour left by the milling.
They're washing their motherfucking rice.
A vacuum tube carries it up to a soak tank. The water is drained off. Then down it goes. and up again to a vat to steam. The steam will soften the rice and kill any wild bacteria or molds.
Money laundering.
Right now, that rice is 180 degrees, and it will kill a mold spore. So he's now tipping the rice down into a hopper, which is going to go down into a conveyor belt, which actually has a drawdown fan, which will cool the rice as it goes up the belt.
I want to eat it.
There's the mold spores right here coming up.
A simple fan blows a cloud of their proprietary mold spore onto the cooled rice. Now it's called koji.
This is rice and mold.
Don't touch it.
Up the conveyor belt.
A conveyor belt takes it to the first koji room, where the mold will have a day to germinate.
Wild.
The room
I
must
mean, I guess
be as
that's
clean
what,
as possible, so only
you know,
the right
fermenting
mold
and
grows.
stuff.
The cedar paneling has natural antibiotic properties to reduce invasive molds, an ancient technique. After 24 hours, the mold spore has sprouted, and the rice is moved to the growing table. The koji mold will turn the rice into food for yeast.
I no longer want to eat it. It's got mold on it.
The yeast begins its feast.
Ha. It's so sparkly looking.
These vats will ferment for 18 days. It will be filtered, bottled,
It is.
and shipped out. Or you can have a taste of it fresh, right on site. And you don't need a little ceramic cup.
And there's specialty glass.
No, because, like, when I go to Japan next, I want to go to Kyoto and I want to buy, like, a sake set. You know, like, I want to buy, like, a Kyoto-made sake set. And I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but I want one. I got sent a sake thing. Technically, Ray did. Got sent, like, a really nice sake little thing. I kind of want to go pick out one and buy it, though, you know? I want, like, a nice one.
We're now for sake, but we just grabbed a really nice white wine glass, and that's a perfect place to start off with.
Rice is delicious to drink, but it has a serious side as well.
That's a very important crop
Although it
food,
likes
yes.
to grow in water, many countries that depend on rice sometimes get too much water. Seasonal floods can devastate a rice field.
Typically, a rice variety will survive underwater maybe 3 days, and if the flood lasts any longer, it will die.
If their leaves are covered too long, the plant essentially drowns.
Yeah.
In Bangladesh and India alone, 4 million tons of rice a year are lost to flooding, enough to feed 30 million people. Pamela Ronald wanted to help get those 30 million fed. 15 years ago,
GMOs?
the team set out to make a variety of rice that could stand up to high floodwater.
GMOs.
They already knew of one unpopular variety that could.
Unlike virtually all of the varieties of rice, which die after 3 days of submergence, this particular variety can withstand 2 weeks of submergence.
But it tasted terrible and had a low yield. Farmers didn't want it. Pam's team needed to find the gene that gave that unpopular variety its unique ability to withstand flooding.
The gene isolation took about 10 years. We were able to pinpoint one region of
Science
the
is
chromosome
crazy.
that had a very interesting gene.
But was it the right one? To find out, they took the gene from the unpopular variety and stuck it into a bacterium that normally infects rice. Then they put the bacterium into the seeds of a different, tastier rice variety. The bacterium acts like a shuttle service. It spliced its DNA with a copy of the important gene into the DNA of the tasty rice seeds. Then they planted the seeds.
So the new varieties behaved just like the old varieties, except when they were flooded, they would survive instead of die.
They had found the waterproof gene. But that's only half the battle. Now to get it into a plant the farmers would accept and people would eat. And often genetically modified varieties are viewed with suspicion around the world.
Which is crazy to me because, like, bananas as we eat them today, GMOs, carrots, GMOs, the entirety of the tomato, GMO, like, there's a lot of GMOs out there for different things. Like, calm down.
Pam passed her information about the gene to a research facility in Indonesia. They used Pam's information to breed a new variety using traditional cross-fertilization methods. In the end, they produced a new rice plant with a waterproof ability without using genetic engineering. A good tasting plant that everybody could accept.
The submergence tolerance variety can survive underwater for up to 17 days, and that's usually sufficient for most flood conditions.
News of the new
Well,
rice
nice.
is spreading in India and Indonesia, where losses due to flooding can be devastating.
So if all those farms were growing submergence tolerance rice, you'd be able to feed 30 million more people.
I love how they plant. They just like fling it around.
The U.S. is a big exporter of rice, but most of it stays right here. The single largest rice buyer in America is Anheuser-Busch.
Anheuser-Busch. Let's make some beer.
10% of U.S. rice goes into beer.
Yeah.
It's a very American style of brewing, and it makes the beer lighter tasting. The brewery in Placentia, California, is one of the few so-called craft brewers that uses rice in a beer recipe. Craft brewers, by definition, brew less than 2 million barrels a year. Anheuser-Busch cranks out about 160 million.
Rice started being used by the big breweries because it was cheap, easy to get, and it added the alcohol content while keeping the beer light.
Virtually every beer has these 4 ingredients: water, barley, hops, and yeast. The brewery adds 2 more for their distinctive Belgian ale: Thai basil and rice.
Cheers.
Okay.
So many people look down on it just because the macros brew it.
You can't watch this
but
part
it's really
legally.
a great ingredient.
It all starts with barley, milled to just slightly crush the grain.
Mix that with hot water. That's what's going to be converted starch.
Oh, you live in Germany?
That, plus
I
the
mean,
rice,
you know,
which goes in next.
American beer.
Gelatinized to make the starch easily accessible.
So what we're doing is we're adding a lot more starch to the
Okay,
mash.
so what did that say? Hold on. Gelatin. Okay, that word has been soaked and heated to break down starch molecules. Okay.
So what we're doing is we're adding a lot more starch to the mash, so
It looks
the
like
enzymes
oats.
in the mash can convert it into sugar, which equals a higher alcohol beer for us.
The 2 grains go together into a big vat of hot water. The heat breaks the starch molecule into simple sugars. Then, a second rinse.
And what's happening right now is this is called sparging, and it's basically a hot water rinse of the grain to extract every last sugar we can.
The resulting liquid looks sort of like beer.
So you can see kind of what we're working with right here. So at this point, it's just sweet water, sugar from the grain, and water. What's called wort, no alcohol, but the sugar that's in this right now is going to end up being the alcohol when the yeast consumes it in the fermenter.
All right.
Pretty much the lighter the better. It's also pretty clear, if I do say so myself.
The barley and the rice have done their job.
That looks like
Right now in the
something. I'm just gonna
process,
say
we
it.
are getting rid of what's called the spent grain. It's the grain that we've already used, extracted all the sugar we can from it. It still has some sugar left in it, probably about anywhere from 10 to 30% depending on the grain. So we have a farmer come picks it up for free, and he gives it to his cattle. We don't have to pay for disposal. He doesn't have to pay for food. It's a great
That is awesome. Thank you for not just throwing it away. I appreciate that it's like a farmer comes and he just gets it and he feeds it to his cattle and everybody profits, I guess.
relationship.
The sugar water, wort, heads to another vat for more boiling. It still has some solids in it, and it's about to get more. The Thai basil and the hops.
Next up, we're going to transfer it over to the whirlpool, which we're going to separate the solids and the liquids before we knock it out to our fermenters.
The fermentation will take about 2 weeks. The brewery is going against the grain. Brewing with rice for a Belgian-style beer
Okay, the hops did look like hamster pellets or like pellets that you would just feed it, like livestock pellets. Yeah, like it did look like that.
With an Asian twist.
Flavors we've noticed from using rice are coconut, tropical, maybe a slight pineapple.
I try not to have any prejudices about any sort of ingredient. I think almost anything, well, not everything, but most things can taste pretty good in beer as long as it has some sort of fermentability.
I'm not big on beer.
We've seen rice as the most versatile of grains.
But then again,
And
I
that's
live in
just a small
America, so.
portion of the plant. What happens to the rest of it? Rice straw.
Kimchi beer.
Well, for one thing, you can build a house with it, even if you're not a little pig.
We get those jokes. I hope the big bad wolf doesn't come around and blow it down. Other people, what? How'd you do that? You know, they've never heard of the whole concept.
Bruce and Robin Rominger did most of the work themselves to build their rice house.
This is the kind of bale we used right here. Produced only 7 miles from here. After harvest, there's a lot of straw residue left in the California rice field.
They start with the wood frame construction. Then they bring in the bales.
And you stack them like Legos.
The bales fill all the spaces between the studs. They aren't used for support. It's basically insulation.
All right.
Really, really good insulation. They used over 200 bales to build 3 out of the 4 exterior walls for their 3,000 square foot home.
Well, it really is a straw house. And then the stucco goes right on it. So the stucco, there's 3 layers of stucco here that are stuck right to this straw. This is becoming more mainstream. There's a police headquarters.
There's got to be drawbacks to this. Like, what if something gets in your walls, like rodents or bugs or something? But I guess you could do that with any kind of anything, right? I just think that things eat straw, but then things eat wood, so I don't know what I'm talking about.
Built in Visalia out
Obviously.
of straw bale. There's schools being built in California out of it. It's a very practical building material. I mean, that's obviously a cliche that it's a bunch of hippies doing this, but it's past that. But we cut our hair before you came, so.
From houses to jewelry and 3 billion stomachs in between, rice fills an
Yeah, like the fiberglass insulation we currently use, it's not good. That's why every time you see someone like installing it, they have full like PPE, like hazmat looking suits on and stuff, because like it'll fuck up your lungs if you inhale that shit. So like it's pretty bad. So you're not wrong. I mean, that's probably a healthier alternative.
important place in our lives. Waves of grain for a hungry planet.
A History Channel. I like the History Channel. But there you go. We learned about rice.